All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started with our program. Again, we thank you for being on tonight. If you do have questions, use that Q&A feature. Many of you, as I said, have already registered and have submitted questions to our panel, which is head coach Aaron Roussell. And then our two players are senior guard Alex Parson from right here in Richmond, obviously, a great career at Monacan, stayed home to play her college basketball, and we're very happy about that. And then junior guard Claire Holt, who comes to us from Hoover, Alabama, two starters, season-long starters, and more than season-long starters for the Spiders as well. So looking forward to chatting with all of them. I'm going to get it started pretty plain and simple, Coach. You guys are on a roll right now. You've won 4 in a row. You've won 7 out of 8. You're 10-4 overall. Justin Glover, your great PR person, has given me all sorts of numbers. Start since 2012. The 7-2 A-10 start, best since 04-05. 5-0 A-10 record on the road has never been done before. There's a behind-the-scene reasons for that I'm going to get to a little bit later. But for now, I just kind of want the X's and O's reasons. What's clicking, Coach? And Alex, Claire, probably the same questions coming to you guys as well. What is clicking in this streak for you guys?
You know, I think we're taking care of the ball better most of the time. You know, I think we're shooting the ball better and making better decisions. You know, I think it's interesting, and especially in a year like this, there's just so many ups and downs and so many perceived negatives. You know, we had to take a break heading into Christmas, and you know, probably stubborn coach, and you know, just decided that, hey, we're good. You know, I know we haven't practiced much, but we can play that game against VCU. We can play that game against Howard, and we really probably weren't prepared for that after the long break that we were forced to take. But I think when we lost those games, as much as you're like, what did we just do? I think we as a coaching staff learned a lot from those 2 games, you know, and I think we've had 7-1, something like that since during January. I think some things need to be addressed. I think if we didn't lose those games early, didn't realize that we needed to tweak some things in our offense and kind of where we were position-wise, who we had in certain spots, how hard we were posting. You know, like a lot of things this summer that we had to address with the players. You never know what's good. You know, so all these things may sound bad right now, but down the road, if we use it right, it can be a positive. And I think that's what we saw.
Hey, Alex, let me start with you as the senior here, but also would you tell our audience where you are? And I will also let them in on the fact that about 6:20, 6:25, you're going to have to leave us for a very good reason. But you got a great background there. Where is Alex Parson on campus tonight?
I'm in Gottwald, known as Gotti, Center for the Sciences. I have my inorganic chemistry lab a little bit later tonight.
Wow, you need to concentrate on that more than basketball right now. You are a consummate student athlete tonight, so we don't just talk about it, we show it to our fans as well. All right, Alex, what's clicking on the court for you guys right now?
I would say we're learning how to read the defense. I think that's something that's very important in our offense, and I think Coach Roussell gets on us a lot in practice about reading the defense and not just trying to go out there and play. I think having a good freshman class has actually helped with that too, because they picked it up real easily, and then now our offense is just flowing a lot better. We're learning certain looks, and I think it's just translating into the game very well for us right now. So
Claire, I'm sure you're sitting there thinking this is easy. I'm just going to say, you know, what Coach said and what Alex said. So I'm going to challenge you here. Give me something as to why you guys are clicking that we didn't just hear from Coach or Alex.
Well, there goes the answer that I thought I was going to say, but I guess you kind of understand that games are going to get canceled. So every time we get a chance to play, you know that's your opportunity to showcase your work. So in that way, it's kind of like, you know, at the beginning of the season, we're like, oh, we're just going to have a full season, but that's really not the case. Every game, you don't know if it's your last game before you have to get paused.
Well, what was it like going through that pause that Coach talked about? And what was it like coming back from that? Claire, I'll start with you on this one.
It's really it's kind of nerve-wracking because it kind of your teammates get notified at different times, and you sort of have to like all of a sudden get on a team call and all of a sudden pack your stuff if you're going to go into isolation. And it's kind of just jarring to go from thinking I have this game, this practice, to all of a sudden boom, like you're in isolation. You're not going to see anybody for 10 days or whatever the case may be. So it's scary. And when you come back, I really wanted to just jump back in where I left off, but like it's not as easy as all that. And the first practice I came back, I mean, I was so tired, and like you had to build the way up, my way up back into being in the same shape as I was. And I underestimated how difficult that would be, but I feel like now I'm kind of back where I was before.
Alex, Claire talked a lot about the different aspects of protocols with COVID and what's been tough. And that is one of the questions we got tonight, is what's been kind of the hardest part of going through COVID protocols, COVID restrictions. Claire talked about the quarantine. There's a lot of testing, obviously. It's not one of the more pleasant things in life. From your perspective, to answer one of the questions from our audience, what's been the hardest part about the COVID-19 restrictions and protocol?
I would agree with Claire in that, like after having a positive test pop up or something, it happens really quick, and that kind of throws you off. And then the whole process of coming back, that is kind of like, because for the majority of our team, you know, who, depending on who was a close contact or who played in the game, considering those people have to, you know, go into quarantine stuff. And then also just missing a game, the possibility of missing a game, that kind of like throws everyone off, really.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, because after we prepared so much, and then all of a sudden it's, all right, we're not going to play that game. And then more practice or quarantine, depending on the situation.
That's tough on everybody. And you two are two of the upperclassmen, a couple of the leaders, I would assume, of this team. How have you kind of handled that role? And are there others that you've looked to, and maybe the younger players have looked to, for some guidance? Not even so much on COVID-19. I want to kind of get away from that because we have so much positive to talk about, but just the leaders maybe off of the court, away from the coaches, that you think the rest of the team, which is young, will look to. Alex?
I would say part of it is trusting each other to be smart about it and be mature. And I mean, just knowing that everybody wants to get through the season, everybody wants to stay healthy, everybody wants to actually play. So just having that mindset and knowing that everybody has the same mindset as you.
Claire, how about from your perspective, how much are you trying to give some guidance and leadership, and where else is it coming from on this team? Because you've talked about this, how close this team seems to be.
Yeah, it's tough with the COVID protocols. We want to hang out in groups. We want to go out to eat, but it's kind of just it's really a test of discipline to make sure that your teammates are following the rules, you're following the rules, because it's sort of like the whole group is at stake. So it's kind of, in a way, like we all really have to buy into our process so that we can make sure like our group stays as safe as we can be at this time. And then also just making sure, like, we're college kids, like we need something to have fun. So if practice is our only time that we don't have a mask on and we're joking around, like I really rely on having that time to kind of like just be with my friends. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Aaron, you've coached a lot of teams. What are you seeing from the chemistry and what Claire and Alex were just talking about, the tight knitness, if that's such a word, of this group?
Yeah, and I think that was something that if you don't have that in the summer or fall, then it's not going to go well, you know. But I think we saw this a lot during the summer, and I think a huge thing was probably led by these two, but I just thought all of our upperclassmen just really embraced, accepted, whatever word you want to use, with our incoming class, you know. And so I think that was huge. This is a season like no other. In some ways, this is really hard for the freshmen because like they don't know anything, you know, coming into the campus. But in some ways it's easy, right? Like they don't know how it used to be necessarily. So there's a little bit for them of, they can go a lot of different ways. And I think our staff, I'd like to think our staff and our assistant coaches in particular were really good kind of leading those position groups and classes. But I just think this doesn't work, especially when you have a team of 16 people, if there isn't some get along with the group. And winning helps that, but I always kind of counteract that with, you don't get the winning unless you have that initially. And I think that's a little bit of chicken and egg. But I think especially like this season, I've said this to our staff a lot during the season. It's maybe even more so before the season. If this season didn't have a fun component, then this ain't going to go well at all. There has to be some enjoyment. We're all going to feel pressured. We all want to win. There's all of that stuff, but you have to be able to enjoy some things, as Claire said, on the court. And, you know, I know it's hard for them and it's different for us being able to go home and all of that, but I think we miss hanging out with them. You know, I think that's a weird component for this year of, you know, not coming over to our house, not hosting meals at our house, not hanging out with my kids and the spouses of the staff. I think that's something that's always been big for our teams, and kind of promoting that family. And these guys have really done that almost in spite of not having that opportunity.
Well, you talking about winning and the girls talking about having fun kind of begs the question about your road record, tying all that together. So now's a perfect time for me to do that. You guys 5-0 on the road in the Atlantic 10, and it sounds like there's some incentive for road victories. Totally legal, totally within NCAA rules and compliance and guidelines. Alex, tell us a little bit about the incentive that is there at the final buzzer from a road victory.
We hop on the bus and we go to our favorite ice cream spot that's the closest, and we get ice cream.
How do you find a favorite ice cream spot on the road, or are these all chain ice cream places, or are you finding some mom and pop ice cream spot?
I think a few times we've gone to some mom and pops places, more so last year, but usually it's been a Cold Stone, a Dairy Queen, or if we come back home, Gelati Celesti.
Favorite, Claire?
Yeah, that's a good one. Everyone likes that.
Which one?
Oh, Gelati Celesti we love, and I love their Nutella flavor that they have there. It's only like seasonal, I think, so it's a rare find, but that's the one.
Aaron, how'd that all get started?
Well, with this group, it was interesting. We never talked about it. I think even going back to Alex's thing when Ryland, our head of operations, I think we've kind of realized that you can't plan for that. Sometimes you jinx it. If you start to like look at spots on the way home, you got to kind of wait and then just wait till the end of the game. At least she doesn't tell me that there's plans. And then we kind of search on the way home. And some of these are destinations that we've been to already. You know, last year, that first game of the year down in Greensboro, it was just one of those that I didn't think much of. It was just like, hey, you play for us, you get to have ice cream after road wins. And that goes back to, I don't think we started that year one at Bucknell. I think it was kind of as we were building, but that goes a Bucknell tradition back to many staffs ago, many teams ago. It just kind of caught on. And, at some point, hopefully, I don't think we're quite there yet, but I feel like it even got to the point there was almost too much. We even had, believe it or not, these kids will never believe this, but we finally had some kids that were like, like we've been there, done that. Maybe it wasn't every time, but I'm not complaining. I'm a big ice cream guy, so I will jump right in.
A lot of fun, and you're doing it an awful lot this year. So keep doing it and keep enjoying the ice cream. And let me stay down this path of staying away from the pandemic conversation. But one of the questions we did have was, pandemic aside, how has this second year been different from the first year? Of course, Coach Roussell and his staff in their second year here at Richmond. So Aaron, let me get that from your perspective, from the players, and then Claire and Alex, what's different in this year than it had been the past couple of years? Aaron?
Well, I'm going to take this a different way to start, but I will tell you, in both of the other stops, and I think talking to a lot of other rookie coaches, what people don't realize, and I think players don't realize, everybody assumes that it just gets better and better. Year two is always the hardest one. Every place I've been, everybody I've talked to, because I think people are like, hey, we did this year, it's just going to build from there. And nobody realized you have to redo everything. You're rebuilding every year. You don't get to this point in year one and build from that in year two. Everything is taken down. You're building, you're molding everything at the base and the foundation in year two. So I think some of the struggles, to be honest with you, that we've had other times, and I think run into other places, is year two, that coach is bringing in different kids. They're bringing in different recruits, and not to say better or worse, but sometimes people get caught into the, oh, well, I'm not one of his kids, or I'm not. And I think we squelch that. And I know I said that from day one, of like, when we took over this program, every single one of these kids was our kids. It didn't matter whether or not we recruited them, whatever it may be. So I think for these guys, they, whether they know it or not, dodged a big problem in year 2 with that battle. And I think maybe one of the biggest reasons for our success this year, and I think I alluded to it earlier, was just how well our older kids embraced the newness. And some of that meant some roles changed. Some of that, quite honestly, meant some playing time changed. But I think everybody was working towards the same goal, and everybody liked each other. I think the freshmen help themselves by being very, very respectful, sometimes maybe too meek and quiet. You got to kind of remind them to spread their wings every now and then. And we have to say, hey, no, it's okay. You can take that shot. We're good with it. So I give our upperclassmen and our leadership a huge credit for that.
Alex, let me start with you because I know you have to leave here in a few minutes. So I want to get a couple of questions in for you. So Claire, hold tight for just a couple of moments. Alex, how did you go about the coaching change and embracing Coach Roussell and his staff? How challenging was it and how easy was it from both sides?
Initially, I will say with at least Coach Roussell, we bumped heads a few times last year, and
We're going there. Okay.
Yeah, we bumped heads a little bit a few times, but I think now I think now with everybody generally, we're better. We communicate, we work well together. So I think initially, yeah, it was a little hard. It was a struggle. And then now, after maturity on my end, I will give you that, maturity on my end. I think we're a lot better now.
Claire, what is running through your mind? You covered up your smile a couple times while Alex was talking. So now it's your turn to tell all.
That's not my place to spill the situation, but Alex is known for being a great arguer, I would say. Don't look at me like that, Alex. And I'm right. And Alex is always right, and just like she is now. So you got it, Alex.
Why are you exposing me right now?
Claire, what was the transition like for you? I mean, you obviously weren't recruited by this staff. You played with a different staff. All of a sudden they come in. What was that challenge like for you? And at what point did you find yourself embracing it?
Well, I guess my first thought of the Coach Roussell staff is like, they're from Bucknell. They're all from like the Midwest. I don't know. Like, Coach Roussell asked me, like, when I go home, like, oh, do you even have airports in Alabama? Like, I didn't feel understood. But I ended up really embracing the style of play, and like, I get to shoot threes. I like to shoot threes, so it kind of gives a way for me to do that, me to score. I think it was really fun, and the more comfortable we get, and it's kind of like a moment where, it's out of my control. This is the staff. We're going to have to buy in whether you like the coach or not. But thankfully it ended up working out. And I knew that from their previous records that they knew what they were doing. So I was down for whatever.
Aaron, I'll give you an opportunity for rebuttal here in a moment, but I want to finish with Alex so that she's not late for class. So
I just want to make sure Alex knows that we're still going to be talking when she leaves.
Yes.
She understands that right now, right? Okay, you're good.
As you always do, Coach, you will have the final word. We
go,
know what you
AP,
do on the
it's your
practice
show.
floor and in the
It's your
locker room. Yeah, you will have the final word. Before you go to class, Alex, and if you're late, you can tell them to blame me for that. And I'm sure you guys know this, but today is National Girls and Women in Sports Day and being celebrated across the country. So I did want to touch on your role model status and how you approach that. But Alex, just give us an update on what you're thinking future beyond your time at the University of Richmond. And if you would, briefly give us an update on how your sister is doing as well.
All right. So after I graduate and everything, I think I've already been looking at different programs that I could do post-bac or whatever other medical programs I could potentially do, and even possibly studying abroad again. And then Michaela actually just recently got into medical school, so she's preparing for that next step right now. So that's exciting for her.
That is awesome. Really, really, really awesome. We're going to let you go so you can get to class. Focus on class now and then focus on getting those Fordham Rams on Friday night. All right.
All right. Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Alex Parson, thank you so much. Aaron, Coach Roussell, and Claire Holt will be with us here for another 15 minutes or so. I'll get to a couple questions that are on our question line as well. Aaron, did either of their responses surprise you at all about how they embraced the coaching change and met your challenges as the staff and where they are and they're comfortable feeling with it now?
Well, I think it's always hard when you're a player and your situation changes, and these guys, I say this jokingly, they weren't a part of the selection process, at least with me, had a relationship with John Hart, knew a lot about the program here. There was a choice for me, like whether or not I wanted to come down here. These guys were here already. They didn't have a choice in the matter of who came in. And, I think like Alex alluded to, but I think with every case, there's everybody has to change. Everybody has to adapt. We had to adapt. I've said this before to new coaches. When you take over a program, it's kind of like owning a restaurant. You can't take over the restaurant and completely change the menu and say, this is how we're going to do it. You're going to upset employees. You're going to upset fans, alums, all of those things. So there has to be some give and take. And, jokingly, I can say this with Alex, and I'll pretend like she's still on the call. I think she and I are similar in some ways. I think she's obviously that path down to med school is she's going to do great. I didn't go to law school. At one point I thought I did, but I think both of us probably could have gone that route and maybe had some success. So I think that was a little bit there, but I think that's always a good thing, especially from your point guard. You want them to ask questions. And I think sometimes as coaches, you realize I'm just telling them what to do, but they don't understand the why. I think a lot of people need to understand that why, especially when, you're at a place like University of Richmond, and been fortunate enough to be a lot of other high academic places, but it's like all of us. You have to understand the why, and not just, I never will say as a coach, because I told you so. To me, that sounds lame. You want to be able to tell them, walk them through that. And, I think that can also be a long process, and I think it requires patience. And I think we all got there, it just, it required that patience that we discussed.
Claire, you're just a junior, so you've still got a little time at the University of Richmond, and we're very glad for that. But give us a little bit of a background on your academic studies and where perhaps you hope to take that after you're finished at Richmond.
Yeah, I'm going to be a computer science major, and I'm double minoring with math and women, gender, sexuality studies. So I love my computer science classes and the math and logic that is involved with all that stuff. And then in my women and gender studies classes, it's like the total opposite. And so the combination is kind of a unique combination. So I'm hoping to do some software development or web development or something like that. Maybe cybersecurity, something in the tech field with coding and programming. But then also I really have found since coming to Richmond and since in the past year, I'm passionate about social justice issues. So hopefully if it was had it my way, I would wed both of those passions and find a way to kind of do both.
I'll bet you'll be able to do it. Pretty good time and place to be involved in the fields that you're talking about. Take us back 3 years. What was it like coming from Hoover, Alabama, where I'm sure, Aaron, they do have airports, by the way.
Can I say here, though, again, just Claire, maybe you need to hear it. I used to be the cool young coach at one point in my career too. Now, when you get to be you hit 40, some of the things you say, it's for my own benefit. So some of the sarcasm sarcasm is great. Yes, sometimes sarcasm isn't great to your players and who's hearing that. That's probably true.
Right.
That's probably true in marriages. That's probably true in parenting and obviously coaching. So sometimes the things that I think are funny, they don't always see the same humor in. But.
Well, I'm sure you thought it was hilarious, but I went and told my parents and said that he doesn't know anything about Alabama. Oh, yeah.
Well, tell us something about Alabama and what it was like leaving there to come to the University.
Yeah, the funny thing is when I first commit to Richmond, my family, my friends, they're like, oh, you're going to the north for college, it's going to be so cold. The thing my grandmother did was she bought me so many pairs of socks, hats, coats. I had 3-4 sets. I was so I have never owned any nice winter wear stuff in my life. And they thought that it was the time to give me boots and stuff. And I was prepared for major snow, but obviously the weather is not that much of different. I mean, it's a little bit more humid down there, but yeah.
Are you wearing some of that stuff now this week and through the snow this weekend at least?
Yeah, I literally had to go like dig under my bed to find like deep down like some stuff that like the cold gear stuff. But other than that, I like never use any of it, but I don't tell them that. I like keep it there just for them. But yeah, it's fun. It's different. I love it here. I really love the city. I'm from Birmingham, so Richmond's like a little bit bigger, but it still has like a southern feel. It still has some good southern food, and kind of like that hospitality culture that is so great about the South. So I think it's a really good fit out here without being like the same old, and being different from, places where people in my high school went. It's kind of a unique situation here. So it was really nice.
So one place I knew you loved when you came to the University of Richmond as a freshman was the Robbins Center. So this was pre-Quilly Center, and I do want to talk about that. But when you were a freshman, even sophomore year, although eventually the pandemic started to come into play here, if I would walk through the gym before I could see anybody in there, and I heard a ball bouncing and a shot being taken 9 times out of 10, it was Claire Holt in the gym, shooting either on her own, using the machine, or with a manager or somebody. Can you talk a little bit about, I'm sure there are some youngsters out there who are like, hey, I want to be like Alex. I want to be like Claire. The amount of time and work that you've put into that. And I didn't mean to embarrass you by that, but
No.
that really was the truth. And now how the Quilly Center is kind of enhancing what you do.
Yeah, that was huge for me for coming to Richmond. The gym is so nice. When I was in high school, I used to have basketball practice in the morning. I would stay after school, wait for the men's practice to be over, wait for volleyball practice to be over, go work out there. And my mom would pick me up after she got done with work, and we went home, and it was dark by the time I left the school. So I kind of really found like an identity and confidence from my work ethic. Like, um, regardless of how the game goes, how much like people praise me, whatever, it's kind of like I always come back to that preparation aspect where was I as prepared as I could be. So when I came here, it's like unlimited access to, like, anytime you need a gym, you can get the gym, especially with the Quilly Center now. Like there's more than one, like the shooting machine. I used to be like, I told you I was a math minor. I used to be obsessed with tracking the spreadsheet. I had like a little spreadsheet with the shots made per week, and then I stopped doing that and started doing made in a row per drill, and then I like kind of nerded out over all of that stuff. But I really did think that it was important, and especially because I wanted to be a great shooter. I feel like preparation is really key. Like it's really, you don't just show up and you're a shooter. So with that, I really took that to the max. And with the Quilly Center, so much easier. I mean, the men practice, I can be in here. They're practicing in here. I'll practice in Robbins. I can get there early. I can stay late. There's more baskets in there. More people can come with me. So that kind of thing is really helpful.
Aaron, follow up on that. Great answer, Claire, on what the Quilly Center impact has been on the program. And I'm guessing you may not have even found out yet from a recruiting standpoint, because obviously you haven't been able to have any in-person visits, but how you expect it to also impact the program.
Yeah, I mean, kind of like Claire said, I'll say it from a coach standpoint, summarizing what she said. There's no excuses anymore. Like there's plenty of opportunities to get in. So things need to be worked on. Gym access is important. I think especially with us and how we play our style, there's a premium and a priority put on being able to shoot the basketball, especially behind the arc. And as great of a facility as the Robbins Arena is, and it's fantastic for game day, I feel like I can maybe say this now without anybody raising an eyebrow. It was a tough setup for practice, quite honestly. There's really only 2 main baskets. You don't have the side baskets kind of full there. So you have 16 to 18 kids in a practice. I mean, we were doing a lot of different drills and doing things differently last year than what we had been used to, because just the accommodations and equipment and everything just wasn't quite there. And I think the men's program and staff and us work very well together. So it really wasn't that, but there's a lot less coordination that needs to go on now. Like Claire said, she knows that, doesn't always know which gym she's going to have access to, but she knows there's going to be a hoop and a machine there for her and somebody rebounding if she so chooses that. And you asked about recruiting. Sorry, you asked about recruiting. I think that's actually been, we've talked about this like you did, from a perceived negative that, we just have this huge gem right now and now we can't show it off. Surprising, and that's still the truth, but I think surprisingly, recruiting has changed. And so there's a lot of FaceTime. There's a lot of this, what we're doing right now, Zooming. And so some of those kids that weren't able to travel and see your facilities, it's a little bit more common, almost to the point that you're like, why didn't we do this before? Why weren't we Zooming and FaceTiming to get kids to see campus and do a lot of these things virtually? This place is immaculate. It's perfect. And that shows very well on a TV screen and computer screen as well.
All right, about 5 or 10 more minutes. If you've got questions, and a couple just popped up, so let me get to those. Appreciate the interaction with our audience this evening. Two folks asked about this, Aaron, and you talked earlier, and Claire and Alex did too, about the differences within our program from year 1 to year 2. How different has it been preparing for opponents in year 2 as opposed to year 1? I know you were familiar with some of them because you played them at Bucknell, but having some scouting reports from last year to draw upon as you go to scout teams like Fordham and Davidson, who you're going to play this weekend.
I think from a scouting standpoint, it helps me, probably helps our staff too, just to be able to go back and see how they defended you last year. I think we run a unique system offensively that not a lot of other people do. So I think you're always kind of wondering what they're going to do with different back screens and how they're going to defend all of that stuff. Now you've at least seen how they've done it before. It doesn't mean they're going to do the same thing again. I think for us, there's just a deeper knowledge of probably more so personnel, but how people are doing things, and maybe with that, the tendencies, we can all watch film and gather the plays and gather what they're running. But now as you get to know the coaches, you get a little more sense of what adjustments they're making. And, so during timeouts, I always say it's all about adjustments, but now I think it's a little bit more, you're adjusting to their adjustments of what you think they're going to do. And I think that gets, I'd say easier, but I think a little more comfortable when you get to know the staff and the opposing coaches a little bit. It probably helps us from a scouting standpoint, and it's not just, oh, that number 2, that number 4. I feel like when I'm watching, I feel like I know the people in the league now. So now I'm saying, that's Kavanaugh or that's Jeremiah. That's all of this stuff. And sometimes I feel like everybody knows that, and the players don't, because it's still, some of them, it's their first time around. So I do think it's comforting, but I think you also have to know that other people are getting to know you a little bit better. So you may have to tweak and adjust on your own.
Claire, from a player's perspective, how in tune are you? I know you're in tune with the scouting report, obviously, but to the players on the other teams, I mean, this is your 3rd year through the Atlantic 10. Are you finding that familiarity the coach was just talking about, that many of them by name as opposed to just the number on their jersey?
Yeah, I definitely know them. I could definitely know them by name, and it's like every year each team has its own like personality, and you're like, Duquesne is like this, and you're gonna be really tired after you play this team, or like whatever the case may be. You kind of know what it's about, and then you kind of get in tune with like, oh, so and so is not playing there anymore this year, and so we all get to tune in on what we think about the team each year. But yeah, it definitely gets easier, and their strengths, and you kind of I got to go to like the leadership conference for the Atlantic 10, and I met like a lot of the girls. So then I like kind of know them as friends now. So that was kind of a unique thing.
Oh, that's awesome. And then do you guys kind of stay in touch, or is there a quick hello on the court before a game or anything like that?
Yeah, maybe like a little hello. Mostly just like keep up with each other on social media and stuff. So it's kind of cool to see into their lives and see how we're actually kind of all have very similar lives.
I can almost promise you there's nobody from Fordham on our webinar tonight. You had to be a SAF member or season ticket holder. So Claire, do you have a early scouting report, especially from what you know from Fordham when they come into the Robbins Center at 5 o'clock on Friday evening?
Yeah, just from what I know right now is they're one of the better teams in the league for sure. So it's going to be a really fun game for us to get to compete in. They have some girls that can really shoot well and are really strong rebounding team. So we're going to have to make sure they don't beat us that way, is what Coach Roussell said today. But they're always a good team and well coached. So I think their offense is hard to guard, but totally manageable. So it'll be a good game for us.
I want to follow up on that, Coach, with a little bit of a scout for our fans, and also on what you will do. And I know you go through this a lot this year, especially the Friday, Sunday quick turnaround and preparation.
Are we certain that there's no Gately's on this call right now?
Not necessarily,
You're a little
as
more
soon as I
certain
said
about
that,
this than I am. No, I
as soon
think
as I said that about Fordham, I'm like, wait a minute, we're playing
Right.
Fordham. Stephanie Gately's their coach. Her son's on the men's team. So great answer, Claire. You didn't give much away
Well,
with your answer.
if you remember last year, Bob, I think Stephanie was talking about, and Jordan were, and actually the whole team, Grant maybe too, talking about how great Coach Gately's cookies were. And I keep trying to drop that hint that maybe she can bring him on the trip, but I'm not counting on it. I think Stephanie obviously has a long history at Richmond. She's, and I mean this sincerely, she's one of the best, if not the best coaches in the league. And I think that goes across the country. I think she's been around a while. People know how good she is, the way she can attack mismatches. I've been saying this week, and I'll say this to her too, she's got some of her sons that are working in the NBA right now. And I feel like I'm seeing some NBA connections and some of the stuff that they're running. So she's a really good coach, and I think constantly getting better and really a tough prep. They have good players, but I think she runs really, really good stuff. For us, the Friday, Sunday has been unique to, I think, just about everybody. Weirdly, I've had a connection with that. So back in my first 8 years at University of Chicago, we always played Friday, Sundays. And so I feel like this is a little bit old hat to me. I probably haven't even explained this to our kids. I've talked about the importance of still practicing on Monday. I think a lot of people in our league, maybe everybody in our league, are playing Friday, Sunday. They take Monday off, and then you're practicing the rest of the week. And I think years 6, 7, 8 at Chicago, we figured out that like it was good to get our legs and maybe get a lift in on that Monday, and then take Tuesday off. The kids hate it when I say this, but I think it gives them a longer break. They're done early on Monday, and we don't go until later on Wednesday. So I kind of try to tell them it's 2 days. None of them are buying it. And I try to say it's like 52, 54 hours off. They're not buying it. But I think it keeps you fresher. So today's Wednesday practice was probably the hardest practice we'll have of the week. And then tomorrow's a little more game prep. You're playing Friday. We as a staff stay here. So I don't know if they like that or not. But we as a staff are staying here and doing all of our scout, a little bit of wrap up from that Friday night opponent into Saturday, prepping Saturday's practice, which turns into kind of a walkthrough because, you want to save their legs a little bit. But then, so we're going from Friday night with that, Saturday with kind of a walkthrough, and then Sunday playing. And then like I said, we're kind of back at it earlier on Monday, which is unique. I think a lot of people, I don't know if everybody else has bought into that, but I think that really worked well for us.
There are some football teams, including Coach Huseman's football team, that play on Saturday, practice on Sunday, and take Monday off. And I think it's for the same theory and philosophy that you've got going there as well.
Yeah, a little bit with that, and school. I think school classes, I think sometimes mess with that too, for sure.
And Claire, I would assume, players want to play games. Does the Friday, Sunday thing bother you at all?
No, I really like it because a lot of us don't have Friday classes, and then we don't have Sunday classes. So I'm not going to miss any class this year for that reason. So that's cool with me.
Absolutely. A couple more, and then we'll finish it up. And all of these are coming off of our question and answer port on the webinar. If you could talk, Aaron, a little bit about your philosophy and success that you'd like to have recruiting locally, and how important that is to elevate your program here in the RVA and obviously in Central Virginia.
Yeah, that's something that was important to us as a staff. Weirdly, and I give credit to our staff. I think a lot of our staff members probably had more of a connection and more of an understanding with the Richmond scene. Darren was an assistant over at VCU. Brittany played here. Janine's been, in a good way, has been around for many years. So I think she knew the area, knew the coaches better than I did. And so if it wasn't that first day, it was definitely the first couple of days. But they really laid out a sheet for me of who I needed to call, what programs were good around here. And that first week was, getting to know coaches. And I think for us, being at the University of Richmond, I do feel like we can recruit nationally. We can use the academics. Now we can use the facility to kind of get kids from all over the place. But I think it makes a lot of sense for us to make sure we know, and I'd say blanket, but that we know our local scene. There's so much talent in Richmond. The coaches, the high school coaches, the AAU coaches here are fantastic. You're seeing some kids that we have on the current roster right now. You're seeing a kid that we have coming in next year, and I know we can't talk specifics, but there's a pipeline of younger kids in this area that are really going to make their presence felt, so to speak, and hopefully that can be here at the Robins Center.
Claire, one more on that. How much do you guys as players, probably not as much now when you can't get recruits on campus, become a part of that recruiting process? Because I'm assuming high school juniors and seniors all due respect, Aaron, would rather hear from the players on the team and the coaches about what the experience is like.
Yeah, I think the recruits definitely, you get the best feel of the program from the players, because we're the ones whose life, like, you're going to be one of us if we're recruiting you to come here. So they really do care about that. We have them, I mean, not anymore with COVID, but they spend the night in the dorm with us. We go out to get food a bunch of times. Like, they watch the practice, all of that stuff. We go to football games with them. All that stuff we try to really like get across. The dining hall, first of all, I love the dining hall, so we always have to take them there. Stuff like that, we try to get the feel across, but it's fun.
Are you an Alabama football fan?
You know what, I'm an Auburn football fan, actually.
Oh,
Yeah, a little weird. Yeah,
oh, you're not weird.
it's
So
weird because everyone asks Alabama Roll Tide, and I'm like, I wish I could lie and say that, but like, that's not
War
what
Eagle,
I'm
War
saying.
Eagle,
War
right?
Eagle, that's the one.
Hey, one more serious one, and then I'm going to finish with a couple of fun ones that are off of the question and answer line. And this one's from that also. Just goals for the remainder of the season beyond winning games. Obviously, that's the number one goal. Claire, how about what you'd like to see this team progress on, improve on, accomplish in addition to winning games?
In addition to winning games, I would love to continue to, like, set the standard that we win when we play on our home court. Stuff like that is important to me, I feel. And also, just, I love to play fast. The faster we play, the more points we score. I love that style of play. So I think that if we can, like, keep making that our thing, Coach Roussell wants us to be known as like a fast-paced team. So I think that if we can make that our like trademark, that would be awesome.
Aaron, I don't know if you had expectation, anticipation, a quote unquote schedule for progress of this team from a goal standpoint. Are you ahead of perhaps a schedule that you had in the back of your head from year 1 to year 2 and moving forward?
Yeah, and let's all keep in mind there's still a lot of way to go.
Yeah, let's put the brakes on it.
Yeah,
I know,
no,
I got it.
I think for all the things that we talked about earlier this year with how our players have adapted, how they've meshed with the younger kids, that chemistry. I think all of those things help more than anybody realizes. There is X's and O's, there is recruiting, but part of recruiting is also making sure you're recruiting the kids, like Claire alluded to, that fit our culture, that believe the same things, that go about their life the way that we expect them to. I know this sounds boring as a coach to sit here and say we don't talk about goals, we don't have goals. Every place we've been, at some point along the way, even though it's not talked about, there's an understanding that the goal each year is to compete and compete for and win a championship in the conference. We didn't talk about that this year, and nor had we even other years, even the last few years at Bucknell. It really is the process versus the result. Our kids probably hear this ad nauseum. We talk about the process. That's during a game. You can't be 5 minutes left in a game and talk about how you just want that clock to bleed and you want those last 5 minutes to go down and sustain the lead. Hey, this is our chance to get better at this ball screen coverage that we have not done this year. This is our chance to win this possession. And I'll say this even with Claire on here, I think when you haven't won before and we haven't won together before, sometimes you start thinking bigger picture and you get lost on what it takes to get there. We all know how to win a possession. We all know how to play well together. We all know how to guard a ball screen, all of those things. If all of a sudden we lose a game or win a game and say, that's one step closer to winning this championship, I think that's when teams get into trouble, especially teams that maybe, quote, haven't been there before.
All right, let me finish it up here. We're just about out of time. A couple fun things. We've done a little fun earlier in the show as well. Claire, this one, who's made the most half-court shots on the team?
I don't know the exact answer, but I know Alex has made two or three of them. Emma and Madeline have all made like more than one, I think.
How about you?
No, see, that's not my strength. It's not my strength. It's not my strength. Everyone makes fun of me. I'm not very good.
The coaches get involved in that at all, Aaron? And the practice
We
kind of stuff?
We do. This has been a rough year. I think overall, I think Claire can attest to this. This is a lot of great things have happened for us this season. Our half-court percentage, the number of times we end a shoot around and nobody's made one, it's got to be higher than it was last year. So I think when it happens in bunches. You know, I don't know if it's a contagious thing, but I'm not helping the cause this year. I usually feel like I can count on them every fourth or fifth, and I'm not helping things.
Keep practicing, coach. Keep practicing. All right, Claire, I'm going to finish up with this. This is not a question, it's a statement. And this was your prediction before we came on the air coming true here. I'm sure you know where this is coming from and you can tell everybody. So now that I know Claire has been stuffing all the fancy winter wear under her bed, I will have to start worrying again whether she is staying warm. Glad the Quealy Center is a nice shelter. Gee, Claire, I wonder where that came from. Huh?
Oh man, I messed up now. Oh, that's funny.
I assume that's mom.
Probably somebody.
Yeah. Yes.
Don't worry,
I'm
Mom.
sure
It's okay. Mom, it's okay. I still have the boots that we talked about, and it's okay.
All right, let's leave it with that smile. Stay warm, Claire. Stay in the gym. That's the best advice that we can give you. Guys are home on Friday. The girls are home on Friday night at 5 o'clock, and then on Sunday afternoon. A great way to start your Super Bowl Sunday, right? Is to catch the Spiders. Both of those games, we know you can't get into the Robin Center. Both of them on ESPN Plus. Spider TV will produce them, so you can watch them Friday and Sunday afternoon. Aaron, Claire, thank you so much. This 45, 50 minutes flew by tonight, so we really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we thank Alex Parson, who, as we said, had to leave early to go to class as well. Again, tune them in, ESPN Plus, Friday at 5, Sunday at 2. Keep track of this team. They are really fun to watch, and they're playing great basketball. We certainly urge you, if you can, if you're in a position to do so, richmondspiders.com/SAF. Give my guy Jasmine Coleman a call. He'll be glad to answer the phone and chat with you as well. Thank you so much for your participation and interaction. Ashley, Eric, Justin, thank you guys for setting this up. Megan, terrific job. As always, we do have another one coming tomorrow, by the way, that we'll talk, that hopefully will be on tomorrow as well, with Tim Hightower, the former Spider football great, who's now part of the Washington football team. And I'll have the opportunity to hang out with Tim Hightower a little bit on one of these webinars tomorrow. Thank you all for being with us tonight. Hopefully before too long, we will see you at the Robin Center. Thanks, everyone. Good night, and go Spiders.